Got a little intro music. Have you ever listened to an episode? You can be honest.
I've listened to part of Cooper's. I've listened to God, what's his name? The filmmaker Thomas. Yeah.
You knew that. You were just trying to see if I remembered his name.
Yes. Yeah. Because you typically get pretty forgetful in the podcast.
Yep. It's a big thing.
Kind of walking around doing laundry and
Yes. Yeah. Sweeping, raking leaves. Okay. Hello, miners, and welcome to the 11th episode of Mining in the Foothills, where I am on the search for dialectic gold with doers from around the Midwest. I am Wes from Walleyopus, and my guest today is Sam Kuban, lead singer, guitar player, bass player, drummer, and the founding member of one of Southern Indiana's strangest folk projects, Swampy. After signing to Walleyopus in August of 2022, Sam and I began working on his first full-length Swampy album titled Something's in the Hall, which is a direct emotional response to navigating the intense fear surrounding an unforeseen diagnosis and its complications from a parental perspective, which we'll dive more into what that means in a second. When not being all things Swampy, Sam is the drummer and lead singer in the up-and-coming band, the Chugs, also recording a record here tomorrow, funny enough, this weekend. He's also the founder of Dead Ends Entertainment, a company specializing in novelty games, books, and apparel. In 2018, Sam made his big screen debut as Big Aviators in the hit thriller Bullitt County. Sam also serves as an editor for Melodic Virtue, a publishing company that specializes in limited series coffee table books about influential punk rock bands. And he's also a founder of Dareaoke, a phone app for daring people to sing. Along with everything mentioned so far, Sam also somehow keeps a day job, has a wife, 2 kids, and 2 dogs, and they all live happily in Evansville, Indiana. Did I forget anything?
No, I forgot about half of that, though, that I did. So
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for that intro.
Yeah.
That made me feel really good about myself for a few seconds.
That's awesome. That's the whole point.
Good.
Did you know that if you Google Bullitt County, there's a Wikipedia page and your name's on it?
Dude.
That's how I figured out the name of the character.
That's awesome. I did not know that. Well, they were asking me what I wanted my credit to be, and they asked if Big Aviators was okay, and I was like, yeah, that's...
Because you don't actually have a name?
Not a birth name, no.
Yeah.
The Big Aviators is, that's kind of what I go by now. But,
I looked too. This is more money than I've ever made at the box office, but I looked and it said that there was a limited release with AMC theaters, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the box office was $11,627 or like something like that.
More money than I've seen
hopefully
before.
you got your check.
I got all 11,000.
All 11,000.
Yeah. They
Awesome.
kind of handed it over. They knew who kind of ran the show, and so that was me.
Yep, that's awesome. Which it was on Netflix, but I don't know if it's on there anymore.
It was on Netflix. Then I know it was on Apple and Amazon, and it's been tossed
Probably
around.
still buy it on Amazon.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Sweet.
Yeah, you must buy it on Amazon.
Awesome. All right, so this could go a million different ways, but I feel like the most thing that's happening right now for both of us is we literally just finished your record 7 minutes ago.
7 minutes ago.
Yep.
Listen
Which,
to
of course, is the alternate title of the record. 7 minutes ago.
It's not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
I feel like that would star maybe not Will Smith. Maybe Will Smith if he didn't smack a bunch of people.
Right. Yeah. I would say 7 minutes ago is almost like a Bruce Willis movie.
Yeah. That's true. So the whole movie actually takes place in 7 minutes. Is that kind of the whole thing?
Yes.
Where then, that's a good.
Every time he shows up somewhere, it was like 7 minutes late or something. Yeah.
So
We're
that's
still
another
working
movie
on
me
that,
and Wes
but-
are writing. Yeah, we have not finished writing that movie.
Right.
We did
still
finish.
working on the script.
Mm-hmm. We did finish Something's in the Hall 7.5 minutes ago.
Yes.
Which is also the sequel to the 7 minutes ago movie.
It's just a loop. But yeah, so like you came to me probably a year ago and said, let's make I would like to use your studio sometime and make a record. But I had really no idea what that was going to be like until we got into doing it in August. But it went from an EP. Well, it was originally an EP, but that quickly turned into an album, which quickly turned into really diving deep into this body of music that you wrote. And in my opinion, we really, listening back to it last night, we really branched into some unknown territory for me.
Same here.
Maybe for you too.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There is. And I think initially, whenever I was writing this, it was, this is an EP that I have to write because I need to get some shit off my chest, you know what I mean? And then I came in here thinking we were recording a folk album, and I think really until maybe a couple weeks ago, it still felt like a folk album, but it really objectively is not.
Yeah, and we still, we are searching for the correct term that really embodies it. We're calling it, I guess, strange folk or chaos, chaos or folk, chaotic folk.
That sounds good.
Angry
that sounds
country.
Good to me.
Yeah, it's like, but there's rock influences, there's like punk influences, there's little finger picking guitar, which is like some of it leans country.
Yeah, it does.
Some of it leans blues. Funny enough, like some of it does lean folk. But like when I think of folk musicians, like I was telling you this the other day, some of the ones that I've listened to lately, like actual folk musicians, there's always this thing that's connected to the past of historic preservation of songs, and that is not at all what we're doing.
Right.
Like, if anything, song number 3, your first single, is the only one that harkens back to like a time, like a historic. It's not even a historic song. It's like Dig a Hole is the name of the song, but it does have, it's got a work song aesthetic, it's got the vocals they sound like a field song, like a working song, like a I guess that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Like a labor song?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know what the official title for that is, but
me either.
Yeah.
But
that's the only one that kind of has that folk thing.
I feel like whenever I write music, it typically, if I'm starting lyrically, it always like lends itself to kind of a folk rhythm or like maybe like children's book. It's definitely like the rhyme schemes like A B A B A B stands, that type of stuff. It's not crazy. I guess the poetic structure is not complex, which I feel like lends itself to. The lyrics are they definitely take a long time writing them, but I don't take a long time on the structure necessarily. But every word is super important, and maybe that's why I feel like it leans folk. And I don't know, maybe that's
what's cool, dude. Is like I've noticed this really early on. The rhyme schemes you use, some of the words that you rhyme with, I'm like, man, I would never use that in a modern country song or a modern pop song. Like I wouldn't use the word oh shit, it's in one of your songs. Oh, it was like I remember hearing it being like, oh, that's a cool word, but I would never use that. But when you write it from your perspective, kind of folk, or like what you said, like children's book or like lullaby almost kind of thing, you can use words that are, I feel like you can use these words that make complete and total sense and they're appropriate in this song, but like they aren't necessarily a popular word that people still use today. Oh, toil. Use the word toil.
Yeah.
I would never use the word toil.
Right.
But it makes total sense in your song.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
for the context of the song.
For me, I feel like whenever I picture myself either listening to this 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or performing it, want to look back and know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. So I feel like I choose, I guess,
timeless almost.
Yeah, I try to lean that route instead of using words like iPhone or something like that.
Right.
To where people might not know what the hell that is in 30 years. I don't know. And not saying that anyone will give a shit in 3 decades, but I want
do
to.
like.
I want them to.
No, I do like when songs don't get too specific. Like, I think getting specific is fine if it involves like a distance or a time or a place. That's all fine for me. But I do agree, like, or even like cell phone is fine to say cell phone, you know. But I do agree, like, getting specific, it might be cool for now, but it does seem like it has a time stamp on it or whatever.
Right.
It's a expiration date on it, to where it's not, people aren't going to know what that is in 25 years, or if it's just not relevant anymore, you know. Because I'm thinking of like think about love songs that still get played, like Frank Sinatra or stuff like that. It's like universal,
right?
Most of it, universal concepts that like they're still very applicable to today's life,
right?
You know?
And I think that's the best phrase to use for it, the universal concept, because I think that's also what's portrayed in a lot of my favorite children's books. Like Shel Silverstein, you could read for another 200 years. And I firmly believe that. And I feel like it's because it's about feelings and learning feelings and expressing them this way, not like observational necessarily.
But what's cool too is like, and I feel this in your music, similar to good children's books, is like it's describing, or it's inviting you to learn a lesson or to talk about a specific situation, but like you're not talking, it's not an instructional or it's not like talking down to the listener like this is what you need to do, but so for example, your record is about, which we only really have come to, or I have only come to grips with this the last like month. We've been working on it for 3 months, but it's about, when we said in the intro, it's a direct emotional response to navigating the intense fears surrounding an unforeseen diagnosis and its complications from a parental perspective. That's like a pretty full definition, but at the basis of it, what is what?
Well, so my daughter Quinn was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 17 months old, and that diagnosis affects everyone in your sphere. It's not just the person who has it. It's not just like I don't know. It's not a solitary disease. It affects every. You know, it's dynamic and it flows into every minute of your day.
And for people who don't know the difference, which I didn't at the time, I do now, the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes is what?
Well, so type 2 is typically, I say typically, it usually is a result of lifestyle, and you can change it in most cases to bring your pancreas into working order and not need to take insulin. Whereas type 1, your pancreas is dead. And so you do need insulin shots for the rest of your life. There isn't like a lifestyle change. It's usually triggered by a virus or or pregnancy or anything that your body's not used to. It can trigger these T cells to attack it and to
It's an autoimmune disease.
Yes.
But like somebody who has type 2 most likely won't die.
Right.
Or their risk of death isn't the same as
right. So
somebody with type 1, right?
Yes, because I still have a working pancreas. It's just well, you know, you still don't want to like give yourself too much insulin and drop yourself too low where you could, you know, pass out and have a seizure and like while you're driving or something like that. That's always a possibility, but there's always a chance that when you're type 2, you, like it's not nearly as severe because you still have a functioning pancreas that can still deliver little bits of insulin and can still prevent a lot of lows. Whereas with type 1, a lot of the times, like that's what like the dead in bed syndrome is where people find their kids in the cribs whenever they get sick. Then they find
Dead
their kids
in bed. Jesus.
Yeah, so they find their kids in it's either a result of a low that when they didn't know they had type 1 because they passed out and then they just couldn't get their blood sugar up, or it was a DKA and their blood turned toxic, because that's what that is
If your blood goes too low, it turns toxic, or too high?
If it goes too high. So
it's sugar, too much sugar in your blood, toxic.
Yeah,
it can kill you.
Mm-hmm, it can. Well, yeah,
if you don't have the insulin to fight it, or if you don't have the natural.
Right, you want to prevent the acidosis, which is what happens whenever you eat too many carbs, which can be anything from bread to candy to fruit, whatever.
And the main issue with being 17 months old, which is a year and a half old, which is really what like our youngest, like my son and your youngest daughter, like they're right just now. They're just now like eating and walking, but then they still can't communicate how they're feeling or anything. So the complicated thing from a parent's point of view is like, it's literally your job to keep the kid alive, all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's why you said it's like it's not a solitary illness. It's it affects everybody around.
Exactly. So like right now, I have my phone right here looking at what her level is when she's at daycare, because she has a Dexcom on her, which thankfully they have that technology.
So thank God, we live in 2022 where she has monitors, and she now has a pump.
She does, which has really, really helped with like nighttime highs, because a lot of times at night, type 1s will just like shoot up, their blood sugar will, and that could be because of something they ate earlier, like maybe they ate pizza for dinner and the blood sugar spike will happen like 3 to 4 hours later, or they have a crazy dream and that spikes their blood sugar. So at least now with the Omnipod 5, it really works well through the night to keep her kind of level, and because it like administers little bits of insulin throughout the night. So it prevents two things: one, us having to go in and stabbing her with needles and waking her up, and her not getting any sleep, and then it also lets us
not getting any sleep.
Right. So basically, because of the pump, we're sleeping more, which means we're less anxious, which means
your marriage is better.
We're
Everything's better.
Everything's better. Yeah. Yeah. So now we can get probably, a solid 2 to 3 hours in a row, which it definitely was not that way pre-pump. Which is awesome.
When you found this, out, did you become when did you start writing this record? Because the record itself, the Something's in the Hall, this body of songs, to me, it's a big metaphor for
absolutely.
For me, it's like the metaphor of something so beautiful in a child, like as a child is so pure and innocent and really perfect when they're born, but then this really dark, destructive disease is inside of it now. Like it's eating it from the inside in. This beautiful thing. It's like when a really nice house has mold that's like or termites or something. It's like the metaphor is something's in the hall, or
there's a big obstacle. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a big life prevention something going on. Yeah, because when did the writing
start? That's what the original, how did all of this come into I never even asked you about how you wrote the songs, or when or where, or how how this shit works.
It's kind of like what you were saying about earlier, how it's not necessarily meant to be instructional fables or anything like that, but it is. I feel like these lyrics are how I have processed everything. So this is not necessarily telling anyone how they should process stuff, but this is me telling myself.
You don't mention the word diabetes once on the record for the record. It's not about.
But it's definitely about process, how I can fucking deal with this shit, because I mean, there'll be the thing with type 1 is that it's not there's never. I feel like the biggest question that we get as parents is are our levels doing okay? Are they getting better? Or you figuring it out? And that's just not how this monster works. It's just, it is ever evolving, different problems every single day, especially as she has new problems as she grows. You know,
well,
with
raising
hormones.
a kid is its own challenge.
Right.
Yeah, with eating, diet, sleeping, all of that is something that a parent with a perfectly healthy child deals with. I know, I do it, you know, so
Right.
yeah. So that's already, so it's a challenge. It's like a challenge on top of a challenge of raising a kid.
Right. And so I guess for me, the Something's in the Hall, like you said, it's definitely like, it's this kind of invisible monster that you can't control, but is definitely there. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just sort of, there's something like, you need to get food in the kitchen. Okay, well, there's something preventing us from doing that. Or, you know, like there's actually the metaphor like kind of came from whenever we were at my parents' house, and my mom took a photo of Quinn, which is actually the album cover.
Yeah.
Of her in a ghost costume whenever she also was pretty sure that hallway was like really haunted, like in a real way. And
your mom or Quinn?
My mom, Quinn, and my nephew Leo are all like very adamant that there's a ghost there.
Okay.
And so it was like a real big, I don't even exactly know how to say this, but it inspired me because as my daughter with the type 1, it kind of felt like it was just like facing her fears type of thing, because she's wearing a ghost costume and doesn't give a fuck that there's a ghost in there, and she'll go through it. But it's like, yeah, there's a problem here, but I'm going to live my life.
Yes.
Somehow. Mm-hmm. And so it just really worked out perfectly. I feel like the naming of the song and the actual, I mean, it has a literal meaning too of, you know, being like there's a ghost in the hallway and it's scary to go through to what you need to do.
Yes.
But it's also Quinn facing those struggles and facing that ghost, which is, you know, I guess would be her type 1 in this situation.
Because like while you can define type 1 and you can understand its mechanisms, it really is sort of like an invisible force.
It
like
is,
it popped out of nowhere, just like a ghost. I mean, just like a ghost is. It's just something that's sensed, you know, or like for this hallway. Mm-hmm. It's like a thing that's just people sense it. Right. You can't really point at it, you know. That's, I mean, before sensors with type 1, I'm sure kids died and it was like, well, what happened? Everybody's like, I don't, you know. I don't know.
Well, that's what's kind of happening right now in lesser developed countries. Mm-hmm. Is that, like, for example, like in Africa, there's like a 600% increase in type 1 diagnoses in the last 5 years. When in reality, it's like, well, I think a lot of these kids were just actually dying from diabetes, and now people are just getting there, actually diagnosing it.
It's just that there's never been diagnoses before.
Right, because like 100 years ago, it was a death sentence. 75 years ago, it was really fucking tough.
Yep.
And, I mean, it still is really tough, but like you said, we have sensors and pumps.
You have stuff to rely on now to inform you about how she's doing.
To where like right now we can talk to my mom or Kate's mom,
whoever's with her.
Versus like her being by my side 24/7. You know.
Yeah. But like so how does? But then when does it? What does it look like when you write? Do you sit down and write a whole song, or are you like driving in the car and you come up with a word or a phrase, or like? When do you pick up the guitar? Do you write everything to guitar?
I think guitar is definitely a writing tool, and that's just, I think, the instrument I'm most familiar with. I think the instrument that I love the best is drums, but as far as writing, it's
kind of hard to write a song on drums.
When especially these songs have it in, like half of them have drums in half of them, you know. And
that's true. Half of them don't even have drums.
Whereas like with guitar, I can know which sections have drums, which sections I'm learning on the guitar, but actually will have piano or that type of stuff, you know what I mean? But so whenever I start, it goes back and forth. It's not, I feel like it flows to where like I'll get in the flow state of writing lyrics, then I'll have 3 songs worth of lyrics, and then
on your phone?
It depends. Sometimes on my phone, sometimes on a piece of paper, sometimes
scrap paper.
On like, it's just but also I do have I had OCD really bad growing up, like diagnosed OCD, and I still have that to where like if I do like a lyric, I'm never gonna forget it. which is kind of strange. So I don't really have the thing where I like need to write it down right now because I will like always remember it if it's good enough, and that's kind of my thing. To where it's like, if I don't remember it, then it wasn't good enough to be on the album.
Damn, dude, there's somebody else. So I'm reading a book on songwriters. I've been reading it because it's a 5,000 page book, or it's not that much, but it's huge. It's songwriters on songwriting. But there's somebody else who said that. I want to say it was like, oh shit, what's his name? Like a folk songwriter. But he was saying that too. He's like, an idea comes to me and I just see if it comes back. And then if it keeps coming back, then I know it's worth writing down.
Right.
Whereas other people are like, a word comes to them that's catchy and they write, like I write down everything. Like my notes are full of just phrases. Sometimes entire songs come. So it's just like, for me, it's the practice of like, I just always have to be engaged or else it doesn't really work. But some people like what because if I don't write it down, dude, I wake up and it's gone. Okay. I mean, it's like taking flight. And it's, I have no idea where it was, you know?
I also feel like, kind of like I was saying earlier about how the lyrics are all me telling me how to process shit, and sometimes I don't actually know how to do it until I like listen to my own song I made that I didn't even know was supposed to be therapeutic. Like I feel like we've had those conversations here where it's like, oh shit, that's what the song's about. Duh, yeah. And then I don't know. It kind of those things, or the phrases and words I need to get out that I feel like are important are ones that I need to get out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
But like, so but isn't it crazy how kind of? Yeah, it is. The words are the
just gotta fucking get
it out. Part, whatever that is, the pus. Yeah. But like, isn't it crazy though that so this stuff starts coming to you? You're writing some on your phone, some on notes or whatever. But like, over the course of how long did it take to get? Because when you got here, you had demos made on your cell phone, so you had stuff laid out, and really we just kind of remade. Well, for several of them, we just put the demos in Ableton and then just like retracked everything. But we produced it along the way, where it was like, let's take this out, let's add this. We had a lot of that going on, but the demos were our like our rough draft to follow, and they helped out a ton when it came to language between us. Like, take us to this section. I really enjoyed that. That was huge.
Okay,
but like, how long did it take you from the time when you started getting the ideas to like then drafting the demos before you got here,
Yeah.
Is that like months?
Definitely. Yeah. But yeah, because I find myself feeling the need to, like, if I find a melody or just any type of musical phrasing or noise or something, I gotta like ring it out for everything. And so I feel like I start these songs that end up being 6 minutes long, and I always end up scrapping probably half of it because most of it is like, I feel like for me, I have to put in too much to know what to take away, to know what's the right length of a song. Like we did that with Messmaker here.
Yeah.
The redo of that. But like, I would say I scrapped probably 25 minutes of this album before even finishing the demos, because half of these songs were longer, or like the sections you'll hear were twice as long. And it's like, that's not satisfying to the listener to hear this twice this length. And I feel like going into it with that scrap the fluff mentality also really helps with songwriting too, and lyrics, and that like I don't need to write another verse because this actually satisfies the, like you were saying, like moral or whatever the hell I'm trying to fucking get across to myself.
Right.
It's like,
and it also, I feel like when you do that, I don't know. Did you like? I feel like in the beginning you said too, like not today, but when we first got together, you said something about like you even took some song parts and pieced them together to make one new song.
For sure.
Or like, because something that Chloe said, my wife said when we first listened to the record was in the car last week or 2 weeks ago, was like, I like how I don't know which one I showed her that she said this. I want to say like Shallow End maybe, but it had several different sections, and she's like, I like this. It's not just like a repeating pop song, you know?
Right.
And yeah, I'm like, definitely, like, that's really not, but what we talked about yesterday, or 2 days ago, which I do feel is true, there is still a lot of reprise. Like, there's a lot of themes that you hear throughout the album that make it an album. So I feel like people who like albums will appreciate the record for the album that it is. You know what I mean?
That's good to hear. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense to me too, because I think all of the reprise stuff, I think that's just stems from my obsession with scores from movies, and specifically like Danny Elfman. Honestly, like I feel like he's the king of it.
For people who don't know, Danny Elfman scored like Nightmare Before Christmas, Edward Scissorhands. What
basically else? Like all of the good Tim Burton movies.
Yeah, that's
he scored
right.
That he scored a lot of like the Marvel ones too, but like the ones with the good like reprises and stuff where you're like, oh, holy shit, he used it this way again and it sounds new. It's like, okay, cool. I don't need that melody anymore because you used it the fuck up. And I feel like that's something I definitely took from him, or tried to, is like, okay, I don't need to add anything more, or like, I don't know. I feel like you can use a melody up. It's not just one.
And then you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you sit down to write the next. If you're writing an album, you know, it's like you can use pieces of this and that and tie it together.
Right. But like to answer what you're talking about earlier is that, yeah, there were definitely parts where, like I said, I scrapped 20 minutes of probably the full material of this. I also saved some, made them new songs, and or put different pieces in different parts because, yeah, like you're saying, I feel like this for Swamp Eye specifically, it's not necessarily a chorus driven project. Right. It's more of a
like when you're with your record, when I listened to it last night was the first time, like Rick Rubin says to do this. He didn't tell me to do it, but he told the world to do it, which is me. Like when I'm looking.
You are the world.
But like when you sit back to listen as though you're a new listener. Like, don't think about the production. Don't think about the mix. Don't think about how it's going to be received or what others are going to think. Just like take it in, you know?
Right.
And that was me last night for the first time as an album. I've done that with songs, but as an album, that was the first time I had done that. But what I thought was, you know, I'm always thinking like pop music. That's just my DNA. It's like how I'm hardwired, is like repeat courses and like throw in like a catchy melody line that says something for the bridge, or I don't know. But when I listened to your record last night, I was thinking some of this music, several sections, are just instrumental with backing vocals, or with vocal singing, no words,
right?
You know, hums and and it's. But when you just experience it and you don't think about it needing words, or like, what are we gonna do here from a production standpoint? You just experience it, and then when you let certain songs play in towards the end, and then you scream and you, and I don't mean you don't scream in some bullshit way. Like you literally, it's like you're letting it out. And I thought last time, I'm like, this, if someone listens to this honestly and opens themselves up to this, they will hear somebody like literally letting out themselves and their emotions and what they're going through on the record, you know?
For sure.
And I think that's what it helps too, that I've worked on several albums prior to you, or songs prior to you, where there is screaming, because that was shocking when I first recorded, because I don't come from that world. So when I first recorded someone and they got in the booth and they screamed, it honestly scared me. And I had no idea what to do with it.
Right.
I even texted you and I'm like, can you send me some references on how to make this, how to mix this, you know, because I didn't know what to do. But when you came in and did it, you're not screaming your vocals very often, or your like lyrics very often, but when you add that in, to me now, if you took that out of the music, it would be missing the energy that it makes it, because that's what your music has. Like it has these very like quaint low parts. Like I'm thinking of the song. It's currently called Trash Palace, but it's going to be called Scurry or something.
Boy, I don't even know.
Yeah, well,
second song on the album.
Yeah, it'll be the second song on the album.
Yeah, okay.
That song in the middle of it has literally a awesome country style twang guitar picking section that like is very intimate, but then a couple songs later there's just these bursts of chaos noise. I mean, we recorded car horns, we recorded banging on drums, we recorded banging on other shit, turning the amp up on the guitar as loud as it'll go, and just grinding it. But all of that encompasses the scope of like the sonic dynamic of the record. It goes from there to here and everywhere in between over the course of the record. Like it's not this straight line, it's not this straight dynamic thing. It's like it not only does like the tempos and the song styles vary throughout the record, but like the actual sonic presence of it, almost from song to song. There's always some area where the things blow up, and then come back to something calm to a degree.
But that makes a lot of, I don't know. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you say it like that, because I do feel like just everything that I put out there is just, for this project specifically, is just helping me process stuff. And for those, I guess all the songs, like you're saying, do have that, and it just kind of feels like that's kind of the like the process of the before and after panic attacks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I used to have a ton of those, like all the time, and basically until Quinn was on a pump. So it'd be like, I feel like that's pretty representative of one of those. Like because there's always a super crazy adrenaline rush, and then there's like an extreme calm and all that shit. And I do feel like that references that probably.
That's crazy.
Because while I said I'd write lyrics to also process shit for the little country fingerstyle part in the middle, I definitely I'm like, yep, that's all I needed. I don't need to write words to this part, because it's just okay. It's just that feeling that has to kind of get out of me.
Yep.
But
Dude,
yeah,
isn't that
that's
crazy?
interesting.
I'm thinking too, like it's crazy to me that do you need another drink?
Yeah, probably.
Me too.
Yeah.
We're back. And do you know why people do the action?
I just assume it's for editing.
It is.
But
the sound spike, like the spike though.
They can like look for it on the wave, on the audio waveform.
Yep.
Interesting.
Line those up. Line that one up with the last. But
that's interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
What I was gonna say was, isn't it crazy that some art is created for the listener to project their own meaning onto it based on what they get. Like my buddy Cooper says that a lot. It's like people will say, "What's your art? What does your art mean?" And he'll say, it sounds like a cop out at first, but it's not. Like it's true. He'll be like, I don't know. Well, what does it mean to you?
Right.
It sounds kind of smart assy, but it's not. It's genuinely well, I want you to interpret it, because he does sort of abstract art. But for you, this like, you worked out your own meaning. Like everything means something to you based off of the situation that you went through in your life. So like, it's crazy that these calm parts of the tracks of the record mixed with these chaotic bursts, they literally mimic panic attacks in real life, mixed with
falling asleep early at 7:30.
Yeah. Everybody's
after.
Peaceful in the like the you know the lights are low and everybody's happy and everybody's gonna survive another day.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like that calmness that we feel.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that then your art, whether you meant to or not, reflects that energy that you face or those experiences of your life, and it means something to you. Whereas some artists literally just create whatever. They do the same circle art every day and they do million, it's like a thing that they do. And then other people look at it and feel something from it, but it's cool to me to think about it from your perspective, that the meaning that you put into it is reflective of your actual life. And I'm sure people will hear it. People will hear it and have no idea what it's about and take their own meaning away from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's, I think like type 1 awareness is super important, but I would never like sit there and make a fucking song.
Nobody wants to hear that song.
Nobody wants to hear that shit.
No.
But I mean, yeah.
But so one of your songs that I feel, I don't know if this was written because it's one that we pulled from the archives, but Messmaker.
Yeah.
Was that written with this body of work?
That was.
Was that when Quinn was like maybe firstborn or something?
That was whenever she was probably. I remember she was in her crib. So on like the phone recording one, she's like, she makes I don't know if she like farts or something or like or stretches at the end of of that one that's already out there like on Bandcamp or Spotify or not. But like no, that one was definitely like it was in the I guess like that like afterglow of birth, fatherhood zone. You know what I'm talking about, where you're like, I'm gonna fucking do everything in the possible for you no matter what happens. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it fits on this album in my
It does.
opinion.
It fits well, dude.
Not in like a maybe not in a like immediately I'm processing what's happening, but in a oh yeah, this is the promise that I made and what I still feel during the times that are like referencing the lyrics and all kinds of shit like that,
Because like with what I think I said this on Tuesday, talking about Messmaker, I said, well, because the thing with the song Messmaker specifically is that song as a message really gets to me. I don't know why, it just hits me because I think of this. I think of someone who pushes people away because they're a fucking mess. You know what I mean? Like they ruin parties, they ruin conversations, they just like in their family's eyes or in their friends' eyes, it's like, you always fucking do this, whatever. And I feel like everybody can picture that person in their head. And I told you on Tuesday, I'm like, this song's gonna save somebody from committing suicide.
That would be pretty amazing.
Because like,
pretty cool.
When I hear Messmaker, your mess is mine, it's a song of acceptance and a song of love.
For sure.
Like that's really what I hear is like, no matter what you fuck up in the world, I still love you, which as a parent really is the relationship with a kid, like with your kid who is just getting here to the world and puking on everything and shitting on everything and knocking everything over. It's like, your mess is mine. Because they don't know any different. Like, there's nothing that you can say to make them not make that mess. It's just what happens. Like August, my son drew he got his crowns out, literally drew all over the kitchen underneath the window on the wall the other day. I didn't even see it. And Chloe's like, did you see this? Just lines everywhere. And it's like,
that's perfect.
What are we going to do? I have no idea,
Leave it.
We're going to leave it.
We have the same thing on our porch too. Yeah, Quinn drew all over the beams and everything. Like, hey, whatever.
That's that.
Yeah. But I mean, I think once you reach that knowledge of, I love this person, for me anyway, once there's always like a no going back line for me. I feel like once I love somebody, then it's just like, oh, you killed somebody? Okay, let's figure out how to hide the body then. Like I'm not like, okay, whoa, get away. You know what I mean? There's always like, I got to figure out a way to still be in there somehow because I've made the decision to love you, and I know that that was not a mistake. You know?
Mm-hmm. You know, but that's what like I think that these songs are. That's why it's important, I feel like, to write in metaphor. Like, okay, this is about a situation, but the beautiful metaphor of Messmaker is like, that is applicable to a relationship. That is applicable to somebody, like I said, who's like fuck shit up their whole life. It's like, you're not so bad, you know? Like, somebody loves you.
We
somebody,
all fuck up bad. We probably don't know how bad we all fuck up.
I know.
Someone else is practicing their patience with us, and we don't even realize it.
Yep. I'm sure that happens a lot, and we just don't know. But yeah, but that's awesome. Because I had never asked you how you wrote the songs up till now, but finding out what the songs are about, I just imagine you up late at night, things are coming to you.
Yeah, it's all.
Because I know that you're kind of you just work when you can kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a night thing. Now that you say that, I don't know that I've ever written lyrics during the daytime.
Do you edit your lyrics at all?
Oh yeah, it's like a constant editing process until I'm like, okay, this is the right.
That's why they're good. Not that people can't get it right on the first try, but like when I hear your lyrics or I read them, I'm like, geez, dude, these are really fucking good. Like they make sense. They're cohesive.
Thanks.
They're good. I think it takes courage too to rewrite. Well, it becomes general practice for anybody who's done it for a while, but to rewrite your stuff takes courage, but it is the right thing to do.
It is always.
I don't know. I would say every case.
Maybe
not every case. Maybe like 97% of the time or something. But it's like at least try. Like, can we make this better?
Yeah. Well, and in 90, like you're saying, 97% of the time, if you're referencing a whole song, some of that shit's gonna stay. Like you're not gonna scrap all of it. And be like, fuck this is bad, because if you felt the need to write it, there's something there that is important.
Well, I mean, the same happened with your with the recordings. Like, we finished recording like a month ago. I think. I mean, probably. Like, we probably recorded it in like 6 weeks or 7 weeks. Really, we like got everything pretty much done. We almost did a song a week for a minute, and then some didn't. But
and by week, it's like not like 8 hours a day a week, like maybe 4 hours a week. Probably.
So I just heard this yesterday. Consistency like beats motivation. So that's interesting. Somebody who works out based on consistency. It's like I go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time, and I stay there for an hour. They will have better results than somebody who's like, I go when I'm feeling up for it, know. And thinking about consistency, one thing that you and I did, which I don't know if I've done this with anybody else with the studio and with being like with recording, because usually it's like, for me, which I haven't done that many projects in this studio or as like a producer, recording engineer, like, I mean, maybe this is like the 7th or 8th project, like a full, like a thing. But usually it's like come in for the weekend or come in for 4 days and we'll just get it all done and tracked and done, which that's probably how a lot of people work. But for us, it was come in every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 o'clock-ish, about 1 o'clock-ish to 5 o'clock-ish, so about 8 hours a week, that we dedicated to it in the beginning. And then for me, it became more just doing the mixing. But on the flip side, it became more for you because you're putting together all the marketing. And that's something else that that's something I've noticed that happens with, I talked to Jax, the lead singer of Atlas of the Dogs, a little bit about this too, is I can see this community, not everybody's down for this, but like there is a community of people in our area, in our artistic, creative area where art is art while we're making it. It's art. That's what we treat it as. We don't think of it as anything other than that's what it is. It's what the song needs. It's what we're doing in the moment. It's what we're feeling. But as soon as it's done, we're thinking about how now it's it's a piece of commerce. It's a product of
Right.
commerce. Now we think about how to market it, how to sell it, how to describe it, all of this stuff to get it noticed, like to
Right.
get it heard. And then we treat it after it's done, it's all treated as I mean, I don't mean this any meaningless way. It's literally a product.
It
like
is,
that's
yeah.
how and being on, like, we don't have the luxury of having, or I don't even know if it's a fucking luxury. Maybe it's a luxury not to have it, but like, we don't have a marketing department. We don't have an A&R department. We don't have a president, like an admin here.
Right.
We don't have a production. No, there's nobody really divided. It's everybody's everything all the time. Like, that's what we do. So then as the record's getting finished, we automatically start talking about how are we going to market it? How are we going to describe it? How are we going to show people? Who are we going to send it to? What's the best way to do any of that, you know? But luckily for us in this project, you have a history of, like, a work history of marketing, branding, website building, all of this shit. It's amazing how everything that a person does up till today comes with their toolkit.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
I know.
And I feel like that shows with your project. Like, you can go to swampeyes.com or swampeyesmusic.com today and see everything. It's fucking awesome to have it all set up and not have to not rely on some, like, one person or another person to take care of all of it.
You just don't.
It's a collab. It's literally for us, it's like a 2-person collab, but
yeah, but that's good. Collaborations, I don't know, the more work each person takes on, it's just like the next person takes on more work. You know what I mean? I think it's just, I think that's the way it needs to be in almost every creative situation.
Well, it's, I think about this a lot. So, a fellow who I look up to very much here in Evansville told me that he's like, you need to turn your record label into a machine, and like all of the different pieces that you do, you need to get somebody who specializes in that to do that role, and then your record label will become a machine, which is the truth. But at the beginning of October, we took a trip to Florida, and I hung out with a guy who owns, like, he owns a pretty big IT company now with like 300 employees. They got several locations across Florida, but he's super cool, super laid back, and just loves to learn about, like, what other people are up to. So he's asked me a bunch of questions, and I told him that. I was like, well, I'm like embodying what this guy told me about turning my thing into a machine. He's like, well, I mean, yeah, no, there's beauty in that, but, or no, he's like, there is, like, obviously there's growth in that, and that's utility, but there's beauty in the grassroots movement of not having a bunch of employees and and partners and all of this shit. Because he's like, you have total control over what you do,
Right.
And that's bad. Like, in his eyes, he's like he's thinking how political and how, like, hard it is to move around 300 people or get everybody on the same page. And he's like, you get to do what? Like, in his eye. And this is a guy who literally flies private, like, but he's like, man, that's awesome. So I don't know, I feel like what we're doing, it's, of course we're not competing with Taylor Swift or these other humongous artists on Spotify and in the entertainment world, but, like, that's their thing. But, like, what we're doing, there is, like, a real beauty. This project has become something, Swamp Eyes, and this record has become something that is, like, so emotional for me.
Same, yeah.
Versus
Absolutely.
other stuff that I've, like, because I don't see this as, like, a huge commercially relevant thing. I really feel like we really went into deep water with this one. Just
we did
searching and trying and,
well, I think that's
discovering and
I think it goes back to what you're saying, where we're like, we should just do something together. I mean, we don't have a product in mind necessarily, but we definitely have the intention of having a good experience together.
Yes.
For each other.
Yes.
Until we realize that, oh shit, this experience does produce a good product. Now let's fucking do something with it. Right?
Yep.
I don't know.
I mean, dude, somebody said it to me yesterday. They said serious play. It's like a psychological. I don't know. It's like a concept. It's like a thing. Serious play. It's when you enter into the domain of play. So I'm gonna sit down with my son and I'm gonna play Uno. I take it. It's the only thing I'm doing. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not dicking around. It's like I'm dead serious about what we're doing. And that is, so when he said that, I brought up this project, and I brought this up to you the other day, but like this project, Swamp Eyes, is the one where we have been the most open, relaxed. Our text messages, like it's all just like mostly just bullshit and like funny, like the stuff that I sent, like when I send you the links, it's usually one word. Sometimes it's two,
like with a lot of spam talk in there.
Yeah, it's a lot of spam talk.
Try to trigger it to go into different inbox. Yeah,
exactly. Like it's just fucking around on most aspects of the project when it comes to like communication and the way that we are with each other. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes down to the work, every time you leave here, you need to change your shirt because it's sweaty. Because you go so hard when we're working on the records. Or like when I listen back to the music, I get emotional because I feel your energy in the music.
That's good.
Yes, and it's the most, like when we're doing it, it's the most serious, like we're both fully committed.
Absolutely.
Serious as shit when we're doing it.
Yeah.
But it's like serious play. It's like we're entering into this domain, but we're really open to whatever happens. It's like, oh, well, like that was kind of cool. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's try that again. Like we were very open, but I feel like I have learned so much through doing this project.
I have too.
It's been a really great experience over the last 3 months or something.
Absolutely. It's so nice to have another person on the project too, instead of,
because that's what you're used to. Like you're used to.
Yeah, I'm just
loner.
I'm used to doing it myself and then being and I think so that has changed for me on this record specifically. Because like I was talking earlier, I feel like everything that I make for Swamp Eyes, that's like the channel I chose to release and to process. That's like like you were saying, that's my serious channel, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then so when I'm doing it for myself and I finish it, that the work is like that, it's complete, and I'm like, okay, it's done. So because have processed something and it's out of me and we're good to go. So like, just get away from me. Whereas like this project, it's like, I do feel like the realization of that has occurred to where like I am processing, I'm figuring it out, but it's a product that can be marketed as well.
Right.
Because
it's
of
not
that.
Just an expression of what you're going through. It's like, it's a cohesive record and it's got other things behind it now.
That's going to stop 100 suicides this year.
Yeah, that's what we hope so. I mean, but yeah, I get that. I mean,
I don't know.
It's a lot different. I honestly think too, it all changes when you just have one person who's behind you that's like, dude, this is badass. Let's do it.
It does.
Like, let's do something with it.
It really, yeah.
Well, and what that leads to, who knows? Just who in the world knows? But like personally, when I was in college, when I was a senior in college at Full Sail in Orlando, I had just started the project Paradoc, and I don't even think I released a song yet. I think it was all just on my computer. And one day, a buddy named Esteban came over, who then became my manager. But like up till that point, the project was just an idea in my head and a bunch of just random songs on my laptop. And then it just took one person and him to ask me, Well, I remember we were hanging out in the living room, and he said, "What have you been up to?" Because he knew I made music. Because what's funny is you go to a school like Orlando, or I mean like Full Sail in Orlando, and you meet a bunch of people who make music, and you think that everybody makes music when they leave school, but only like a small percentage of people actually go like do the music when they're not in school. I feel like that's probably the same with art school and like a bunch of degrees where you might be going to school to be an entrepreneur, but only like 4 people in a class of 50 have a business. You know, it's like only a few people are practicing what they're doing. So when he knew that I made music, but when he came in the room and I played him some stuff, I played him Frenchie. It was the first song that I had released that I ended up releasing, but it just took one person to hear it, which was him, and ask me like, "So what are you going to do with this?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, put it on SoundCloud or something. Like, what does everybody do? I don't know. I didn't think in a way that, well, we're going to send it to these people and we're going to try to get these people to hear it and we're going to build on that and try that. You know, it never occurred to me in a million freaking years. I thought you made music and then people just came and then you got famous or something. I had no idea how any of it worked. Yeah. But as soon as one person stood behind me and said, I'll help you do this, you think about everything very differently, you know? Yes. It's like, well then, oh shit, okay, let's get this together. Let's, like in your case already, there's a bunch of people to send it to. There's a bunch of just marketing and, not marketing, branding behind it already, you know? Which just makes it so much more of a real, I don't know, legitimate, I don't know, you know, project. Gives it a lot more life. Yeah. Versus just, which, you know, the indie thing's got its place. No offense to anybody who doesn't like business in art, but
man, I've had this conversation with several people who are, I guess, just at the same level we are with this, where if you're passionate enough about your creativity, there has to be some interest in the business part of it, or else maybe you're not passionate enough. Right. You know?
Or maybe you don't care about, or you're like a total hobbyist. Yeah. Or you don't care about making a living off of it, or...
Right. I mean, and that doesn't mean you have to make a living off of it for it to be something you're passionate, but like you do need to have that drive of like, okay, how can I do this for forever?
Yeah. And if you're maybe not thinking that at the beginning because you don't care and it's cool to be anti-business and all that, I mean,
figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I feel like eventually though, it's when you're still working at a fucking bullshit job and you're 32, it's like I've been making music for 20, I don't know, you know, like a situation, and then someone's like, this sucks. You know, like, because I already think that about so many situations in music. I'm like, I don't want to be doing some of the shit that I'm doing now in 10 years, you know, or I don't want to, like, I truly believe that to get out of this current state that I'm in, which is not a bad state, but it's like, I'm in sort of like a DIY beginner's place where, or not DIY, grassroots, I should say. But I mean, to punch through in my opinion, just takes that, like it takes something to take off. Like something has to punch through the noise, rise above 90% of everything else, and then, okay, now we've done something credible, or, you know.
Well,
maybe specifically, not, I don't know.
No, you specifically with Wally Opus, and I feel like everyone who I talk to who has the same passion and goals, you are a listener and you ask people questions that you get real good advice from. And you've mentioned like 6 times just on this podcast, specifically like specific conversations from people that you've grabbed a hold of. That's that you've at least thought about to get to the next
right
step. I just feel like, I mean, I know people get lucky, but I don't know. I feel like the way that you climb up is exactly what you're doing right now, is asking people who you feel like are ahead of you the questions that you can learn from, you know?
I appreciate that. That is a big compliment, or that is something that at the end of the day, like, this sounds silly, but I've thought about this a lot recently. It's like, at the end of the day, I think that the whole reason I'm doing any of this is because, like, I want to be noticed. Like, I want to be selfish as fuck, but it sounds selfish as fuck, but it's like, through my service to other artists and through this, it's like, I just want to have my name on some credits. I just want to be recognized somewhere, because that's like also sort of in my DNA, is to like be among whoever it is. I don't even, in whatever domain, it's like, I want to be with them. Like, I want to be noticed like they are,
Yeah. But don't you feel like that's like the surface level want, where the actual
that doesn't
gain,
drive me.
Yeah, the gain is that, okay, you can do what you want to do that will give you enough money to raise your family, and that you're not fucking stressed financially at all. Right? Isn't that like the main
work
thing?
on the projects that I want to work on, know?
I mean, I feel like you just
work with people I love who I want to work with versus like, paying my bills.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't work. I mean, actually, most of the things I work on right now are stuff that I choose to. I'm in a lucky position to do that at this place, but yeah,
you've
that's
also
not
worked really hard to get. I don't know. Everyone who's like in this place right now has worked hard to get to where they are.
Yes. Yeah. Do you feel that the other activities that you're involved in, like in the bio, I mentioned 12 things that you've done, that are notable in my opinion, like that, like several of them are stuff that you've built, like companies or.
Yeah.
But do you feel like that stuff, specifically with Swamp Eyes, comes in handy? Is it informative?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like, for example, with Dead Ends, we use like Shopify right now, and that's something that I know I can avoid with Swamp Eyes, which right now I'm just using a GoDaddy web builder, which is perfect. I don't even need it, even though I can develop a website. I just don't need to because of that. But yeah, I think that comes in handy because there's so many problems and obstacles with every single creative medium that I think that they all help each other out. And I also think that that's how it helps me figure out the medium to choose for certain ideas I have. You know what I mean? Like, instead of using, like, I probably wouldn't title a song the same thing I would put on a t-shirt for Dead Ends.
Yeah.
Or something like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's like, you gotta have the avenues to throw your shit in. And,
like, you're not gonna well, maybe. I don't know. I was gonna say, you're most likely not gonna process the emotions that you did with this record by releasing 5 shirts.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But like, but that's like the, kind of, I was going to bring this up earlier, but like with the Chugs, like that is a totally different need for me, where it's like a personal, like I need someone, kind of like what you were saying earlier, like I need someone to think that something's a little bit funny. Like I need it, but I also need to make punk music, just straight punk music. And that's what that is. And it's extremely cathartic for me, but not in a totally different avenue.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm not probably going to write any lyrics for the Chugs that have anything to do with Type 1.
Right. Or your actual experience of your day-to-day life.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
is still, I don't know, not all of it with the Chugs, but you pull from everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not your life all the time in the Chugs specifically, but
I feel like maybe the consistency and branding and that kind of stuff that you feel with Swamp Eyes comes from me having these other channels to exercise my other needs. Like I'm not going to put a funny song on a Swamp Eyes album, probably.
Yeah.
It'd be strange.
Or through your or even through your day job of working in marketing and internet services, like recognizing the businesses that do well versus don't do well.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure that you take all of that in all of the time, whether you consciously are documenting it or not. I'm sure you're taking it in all the time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many different pros and cons that you can get from a really good day job that you can use in your creative world on an everyday basis. And I do that. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, like right now, I mean, for work, I'm making a downloadable PDF about organic marketing, and you know, the goal there is to give everyone, here's how you set yourself up for success so that we can market you and make you more successful, because those are the best clients, are people who are doing as much as they can already. And I feel like that exists in like the music world with record labels, which is like, okay, so you have this many streams a month and this many listeners a month. Okay, cool. That means that we have these targeting options whenever we're using this marketing tactic to get in the ears of these people, and we can expect this ROI from it. Versus like, I don't know, someone who has no listeners. Like, I mean, I don't have very many for Swampy's right now, but like it would be strange for like a Capitol Records or something to be like, yep, let's just sign you and give you a 6-album deal right now.
Exactly. Even though we have no idea how it's like, we don't have any idea where your value's at. Yeah. Well, I was thinking this the other night based off of just the amount of work that you've personally done for your own project. It frees up, on my side, it frees me up to literally focus on finishing the music and getting it as best as I can, because I'm not also then worried about, I have to log all these contacts and all these emails that we're gonna have to send this shit to, because that's really where we're at. We're at like a fire and, you know, spray it out there place on in some aspects of releasing it, but it takes away all of that. But dude, it makes sense. I mean, imagine being Warner Records or these like giant record labels, and it's like, okay, we're gonna plug you into our system. You better be able to go on the road. You better be able to pull a crowd in almost every city in America. And like, because if not, it's not going to be good for you, and it's not going to be good for us. So none of it makes any damn sense, you know? But it's funny how long it takes me, at least, to realize that that's how. I was telling somebody this over the weekend that I've only been booking shows for bands or for anybody for like a year, and don't even do it full time. So it's just something I kind of offer. But it's only until the last month that I realized that booking agents and venues really don't give a shit what the band or the music is. All they care about, unless it's like a genre specific venue, but all they really care about is ticket sales and basically ticket sales. Are you going to pull a crowd, you know, are you going to pull a crowd in this, in alcohol sales from the bar? But basically, like, are you going to pull a crowd in this city, and how many people, and does anybody even know who that is? Right. Because that was questions I got a ton in the beginning, but it didn't dawn on me until now that is literally what they need to know. Is like, are we going to sell 200 tickets and $1,200 at the bar? And other than that, it's really, like, we really don't care what is going on, you know? But, so, it's just, like, it's nice to know value at the end of the day, or, like, what you're literally bringing to the table if you're going to work with certain people. And the same goes for, like, in my case, I am nobody. Like, when it comes to most things music, I'm just a dude out here in the Evansville. But even with me, sometimes I feel the need to turn down certain projects, because I'm like, I can't help you where you're at. Like, you just need to keep making your records Like just with this record, it sounds like something you could just bedroom produce, and you don't need to pay me. I don't need to get involved with like a person's record that I don't feel like I could actually do anything with or be mutually beneficial, you know?
Right.
Which it just takes time to even know where you fit in with all of this shit, you know?
Yep.
And to recognize where you're at, and then, yeah, it's just the process of all of it, you know? But and then just keep chipping away at the block and keep building it and aiming higher. And
well, I think with this project too, kind of like we talked about earlier, we don't even really know what the fuck to call its genre at all. You know, not that you need it, but that's another reason to have all of these marketing materials ready. Yeah. Because, okay, we've done everything that we can do marketing wise. Beside, like, here it is, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
and we can try to describe it the best we can, but it's kind of like yesterday. I did like a little interview thing. I'm going to a retreat next week, so it was like a pre-retreat interview. And the first question he asked me was, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Oh
God,
fuck."
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, what came to mind?" I'm like, "Well, what came to mind first was, what do you mean by who am I? Do you mean like my identity, or do you mean like what other people say, or do you mean who
What's your birth name? Can I see your social security card?
Yeah, like the facts. Like, what are the like? But that's kind of the way it is with your project. It's like, okay, describe it to me. But when you're doing something in the weeds, like what we are, like going into the deep end, it's like, man, I don't exactly know how to.
Yeah.
Which I hate saying that too, because then people are like, it's got to be something. It's not brand new.
No, and I mean, it's definitely experimental at heart, but even saying that doesn't really give a good example.
Yeah.
Like, you can say the same thing about like Mr. Bungle, and that you still don't know what that sounds like either.
Yeah.
But, and not saying in any way that this sounds like a Mr. Bungle record.
Who are the for fans of?
Man, you know, I think that initially coming in here, I was like, when we were thinking about doing a 5-song EP, I think that I felt closest to like a Radical Face.
Yeah.
With some maybe like hardcore punk leanings, which is, and maybe some Danny Elfman elements, just because I've been obsessed with him my whole fucking life.
Maybe like you.
Danny Elfman, as far as like a scoring goes,
okay,
because I don't think this sounds like Big Mess, his latest album,
or Oingo Boingo,
right? Or Oingo Boingo. I don't think so at all.
I don't even know anything about Oingo Boingo other than Danny Elfman was the lead man, front man.
I like them a lot, but this is not. Doesn't sound
not
like
them.
it. No, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like Radical Face.
Because
there's a couple like there's a little bit of mathiness in it, but not a whole bunch. There's enough to get a taste of it.
There's some 5/8 timing here, and some little like some sections that are literally like focused on rhythm and percussion.
Yeah,
which I don't know if that's a defining characteristic of math rock, but seems to be something. We're focused on rhythm and.
Well, and like half the time when we were in here in the vocal booth, we were like, okay, well, let's just do like seriously 50 takes of different like harmonies to see what we can get. And then we're like, oh my God, this, like, and when you listen to it without the other instrumentation, it sounds like a fucking In Sync or like a gospel.
Yes. Record. There are literally some 90s boy band harmonies that we pulled on this record. Not consciously necessarily.
No, you don't know until you do it.
Yes, when it would happen, it was obvious. Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Widow in the Window, which is going to be called Trash Palette. Do you have to pee?
So. I do have to pee. You can see my legs.
Yeah, I have to piss too. Let's take one quick break, and then we'll come back and like wrap it up or something.
That sounds good.
Right. But I was going to say... we were talking about harmonies and stuff.
Yeah.
What I noticed yesterday when I was listening back to Widow in the Window was that Widow in the Window is another way to put that. But Widow in the Window, I was thinking, man, when you get into certain genres and you get into certain arrangements of music, it almost lends itself to orchestral interpretations. Because with your music specifically, we outline so many melodies with your harmonies. And and they're all, some of them are screams, some of them are oohs and ahs, some of them are like, I don't even, like, some of them are lead vocals, but then others are guitar, like other elements of the song going with that is guitars with cello. Like there's so much happening that last time when I was listening, I was thinking, holy shit, dude. There could be an orchestral interpretation of this with like a full symphony orchestra.
That'd be so
outlining.
Cool. Oh, that'd be badass.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like, dun, 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 like all of that with the strings outlining certain harmonies and then the woodwinds. I could just hear that with your music.
Well, now that you bring that up, and going back to your question of like the for fans of, I do feel like there's like a hint of the Deer Hunter in there, not Deer Hunter, but the Deer Hunter, DEAR, with because they had that exact same thing. Well, Casey, the I guess the main guy, the songwriter and vocalist and guitarist, he worked with some orchestra. I forgot what it was, but they also did an interpretation of, or no, he wrote an orchestral piece. Yeah. Okay. But anyway, yeah, I think that people could hear that influence as well. And I don't listen to those guys every day, but they were definitely a huge influence college years, and they also have kind of that storyline, lyrical vibe. So I don't know. Anyway, just reminded me of them.
Did you did you ever take like singing lessons or anything?
No, but I had the luxury of having an extremely talented family of musicians.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say that I am the least talented of my family at
What's funny is, okay, keep going.
Well, my dad and my mom are both incredible guitarists. My dad more of like an electric guitarist, and my mom's more fingerstyle. My sister's an incredible vocalist. They're all three of them are extremely good vocalists. I feel like I can sing, but when I'm in a vocal booth and I have the opportunity to fuck around and to go for it, I feel like I recognize that I still can, even though that I wouldn't necessarily call myself a singer, I can still hit those notes and give the listener what I want them to hear. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I would not classify myself as a singer, but I know that does kind of shine on this album, which is strange because I had never thought that would ever be the case.
For the record, no auto-tune, no vocal correction, one time on the entire record. And I do that on almost everything I work on at some point is vocal tuning, not auto-tune really ever, unless it's my own music. Sometimes I put auto-tune, but most of the time it's just vocal editing a little bit just to get stuff fitting right. But no, not on yours. But what's funny, when you said to your parents, which by the way, your parents did play at my wedding.
Yes.
So I can your parents' band, your mom was like Paul McCartney playing the bass and singing vocals. Your dad sang some too, and played lead guitar. But your dad can shred for days on the lead guitar. But their band played at our wedding, which was great. Was it their last gig? Or one of their last
I think
gigs?
it was their very last show.
I feel like it was.
It was.
Because they weren't going to do it.
I think they came out of retirement.
They did.
For your wedding.
They did, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's badass.
That's exactly what happened. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
But wouldn't it make sense that you call yourself the least talented or skilled at one, if your dad's skilled at electric guitar and your sister's a skilled vocalist and your mom's a skilled finger-picking guitar player, which she did, like, wasn't one of her mentors, what was her mentor? One of her mentors' name? Look at one of the guys that she studied under.
John. God, what is his name? Let me.
And his mentor was Chet Atkins.
Oh, well, so John. God, what is his name?
You just sent me one of his records like 2 months ago, or a month ago or something. Finger
I'll find
picking
it right now. He's like one of my favorite musicians.
A lot of Johns in the world to keep up with, so
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out later.
But anyway, she's literally a trained finger picking.
Oh, she's fantastic. Yeah.
Which is funny because she plays bass in the band.
Well, yeah. But I mean, you can definitely play bass if you can fingerstyle guitar.
Right. Well, definitely. Well, they're like, the band was a cover band.
Yes.
For people who don't know,
But what was your initial question about like?
So, what I was going to say was, what's funny is, so you're saying that you're the least, so there's 4 people in your family. You're saying that you're the least talented at one, like maybe like one single instrument or one thing. But I almost feel like whatever you didn't get in talent, you got in spades of creativity.
Yeah,
you have the creative bug. You have the think of something new and try something new. You have that thing constantly going. I don't know if your parents and if your family has that necessarily. Like maybe that's what you got though. And I almost feel that. Like I feel similar. I almost think that's what I was listening to Kanye West last night. I know that's a trigger topic right now, but it was on the radio. But it was "Good Life" with him and T-Pain, an older song.
Okay.
I was listening to him sing a Kanye's part when he sings. I was thinking his voice really is not that good, but it doesn't matter because he is insanely creative and pushing the boundary, So I feel like that is its own. That to me is the valuable part,
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone walks in and they're a great singer, that's awesome. But what are we going to do with it?
Yeah, I know. Right.
But someone who's okay at singing but has something really interesting going on, I actually think I would pick that person to work with.
Sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's more attractive, at least to me.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I think that also growing up in that household, I had the luxury of being able to exercise any type of creativity I wanted, which was like
your parents encourage you.
Yeah, very much so. There was never a time whenever they discouraged me to the point where it was like, "Oh my God, you're showing your friends this song I made. This song is the most vulgar thing I've ever heard in my whole entire life." So
they would show their friends?
They would, yeah. There were several times wherever, like, for Dead End songs, I think I would make several that were just like, let's just see how vulgar we can get with this, and then they'd be like proud of me for it, and which is funny. It's like, it's just real. I've never had a second thought about if I could do something creatively.
That's huge.
And it would affect my relationship with them. Never, ever.
I wonder if that was a conscious decision by your parents to raise you in a way, raise you in an environment where it was like, we're going to safely let him do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
In terms of expression and
I think that's
trying things.
Yeah. And I think that's really important because if you let that happen, you also let the kid, which was me in this scenario, figure out where the boundaries are of like what is creativity, what is like violence, I feel like you figure that out through experimentation as like, okay, here's the boundary and you don't do this, you don't do that, like maybe this is wrong, maybe this is the way to continue, or
or even like what's funny, what's not, what's entertaining, what's not,
right,
right, because if you're trying to figure that stuff, if you're trying to work that out in a vacuum with no feedback or no support, how do you know? How do you have any reference for? It's kind of like when you like, I mean, dude, we live in the time of bedroom producers, so I feel when I was a bedroom producer when I was younger, just making stuff for myself pretty much when I first got into it, you think it's one thing and then you show somebody or you go to like an open mic and perform one of your songs and you realize like, oh shit, it's not as good as I thought. Or it's like, oh, they like the one that I didn't even pay any attention to,
I think that last thing you said exists like throughout the whole world in every single creative medium always. I think that is
the
true.
Diamond in the rough.
Yeah. I wrote the song in half an hour. That's probably gonna be the one.
Yeah, and I don't like it. But then like everybody else is like, dude, that's the fucking one. Are you kidding? You know?
Yeah, where the 10% of effort went.
Yes.
Versus the 90%.
And you're like, but what about the one that I spent 3 years on and $1,000 recording?
Trash it. Scrap it.
What's funny is I just watched an Elton John interview the other night. I don't know why. I don't even know why I watched it. I watched the whole fucking thing. It was an hour long. I was just trying to watch something musical, and it was on Amazon Prime for free or available. So, but he talked about Billy Joel. Or not Billy Joel. Fuck. He talked about Benny and the Jets. He did talk about Billy Joel in the documentary, but he talked about Benny and the Jets and another song. It was like Crocodile Rock or Tiny Dancer, one of his big hits.
Crocodile Rock was my first favorite song.
Oh, that's badass.
We have
dude.
home videos of dancing to that song.
That's a great
as
fucking
a 5-year-old,
song.
I think. Yeah.
But he was talking about definitely Benny and the Jets. I know for sure was one that he didn't want to record. He thought it was stupid, corny, didn't want to track it. But whoever the record label, somebody talked him into doing it, and then those became some of his monster hits. You know, and it's funny how like I feel like that is just a thing in life. It's just the one that you don't. Yeah. The hidden gem that you just have no idea what's going to go on, and then it does. It makes the noise. It does the. It punches through.
For sure.
That's why I feel like you can't. I mean, as the creator, this is probably what like Rick Rubin posts on Instagram. I don't even know if it's him, his team, or whoever. But I always screenshot them when I look at them, and a lot of them are about like not being judgmental during the process because you have no idea. You don't even know what you're doing most of the time. Right. It's only after the fact that you can collect your thoughts and what is this thing that we've done, or sometimes people know when they set out what they're going to do, but sometimes, even if you have demos, like you brought demos in, but some of the songs ended up very different than the original idea.
Yeah.
Well, so we had an experience like that on your record where a song was written quickly, and to me, it's one of my personal favorites because of that connection to it with Cheers.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It was, and I always think that that's a great thing to do is to leave room for to leave some space for the unknown,
I think that's something I learned through this project, specifically from you about that. Just being like, let's just see. Yeah. All right. Let's just kind of
like you come in with 5 songs. Okay. That's 8. Great. Now we have 8, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. Because you come in with 5 songs, which is awesome. That's what we're definitely going to do those. But we leave room for like the unknown of what pops up. So for Cheers, sure. What do you remember about Cheers?
Well, for Cheers specifically, there's a real reason why it's the last song on the album is because for the second to last song on the album, which I'm not 100% sure on the title of that song yet, but I remember like actually like passing from one stage of grief into another in the vocal booth. It's like, okay, that the take that we use at the end, the screaming thing at the end, talking about the roaches and the leftovers, that is like that take actually like completed a stage of grief for me, which is fucking crazy.
Oh my God, you were yelling at the end. We left it all in.
Oh yeah, it's all in there.
Afterwards, fuck.
But that
everything.
But that like
we decided
really,
that was a deliberate decision. Like, yep.
Yeah, well, because that's like auditory evidence of me. There we go. Okay, that phase of my life is done. That is actually the end of that phase of my life. And now, and then Cheers was recorded after and discussed after that because we were like, because like you said, what if we did another one? And I was like, oh, didn't even think about that. Okay, yeah, let's do it. And it, to me, like I can personally feel the resolution from the second song, or from the second to last song to Cheers, which is the last song. And it's like, okay, it's the denouement, I guess, of the record. You know,
the what?
The denouement, like the falling action. It's just like, okay.
What's that term come from? Denouement.
I have no fucking clue. I guess some
Latin or something. Sounds Latin.
Could be. I don't know. I just remember learning about it in like English class or something. Okay. As far as
closing
like plot points and stuff goes. Yeah. It's like it's like the last 5 minutes of a movie, essentially.
Okay. Gotcha.
You know, last 5-10 minutes after the climax happens, where okay, they're married and now there are a couple jokes and then there we go.
And then we're done.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I feel like this is on the record, is like okay, it's finished. Everybody good? Okay. Let's go. Ready to get out?
You were this happened with a band I recorded over the summer, Sunflower Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
They and I feel like this is why it's always important to be listening when you're in the studio, because people come in with an idea of what they want or what they're gonna do, but then when musicians hang out, it always creates something new, because most people just can't sit still, so they just do something, you know. Yeah. And so when I was recording Sunflower Syndrome in like June, we were between takes. I don't know. We were like doing something. I don't know. Like I was doing something, whatever. But we sound checked again. Oh no! It was the very first night that they came in to load in. Their bass player wasn't here, so it was everybody else except the bass player. And I said, "Play something." They said, "Well, let's play." I don't even know if they had a name for it. Let's play this. They didn't have a name for it, and they jammed this thing, and I thought, well, that was fucking cool. But they're like, that wasn't a song. They didn't have lyrics. It was just like an idea. They just sound checked. So then we did the whole record. Then at the end of the record, I said, you know that thing that you guys did in the jam, like in the sound check? It was just like a jam. They're like, yeah. And I played it for them again, and even the bass player is like, well, that's pretty dope. Like, what was that? You know? And then gave them a night. They went home, wrote lyrics, and came back the next day, and we just made it a song. And now it's called Off the Cuff, which is funny. I said that. I gave them that title. I was like, it's Off the Cuff. So I named the session file Off the Cuff.
Yeah.
They used Off the Cuff and wrote lyrics. But it's one of my favorite records on their song.
It is.
Our songs on their record, because it's totally spontaneous and totally unplanned. They came in, they killed that recording, and that was the one that I think you even said.
I said that was like, yeah, I said this is going to be the one people like on this, which is exactly what we were talking about with the last 5 minutes about that was when I learned that lesson of like leave some space, because you have no idea what's going to happen. And then when you came in, that's, I think, when we were between takes or something, you were plucking around this just you know, this pattern on your guitar, and I asked, is that a song, or is that just like, what do you know, oh, it's just an idea, whatever. And I thought, well, what if you took that home with you and you made something a little more just straight up vocal and guitar? Like, that's it. That's before we did a couple other songs just like that. But that was the first one where it was like, what if you just tried that? Because in my eyes, being a commercially informed person who looks at playlists and numbers a lot, it was like, well, what if you made something that was like perhaps a little more accessible to people like my mom or to my wife, like people who, if they hear screaming, they're probably not ever going to listen to it again. Yeah. But if they hear a very soothing vocal over of a pleasant guitar strumming, they might really like it, and then they might go a little deeper and want to know what else you got to offer on your project. But then you literally went home, came back the next Tuesday or whatever it was, and you had vocals, and we tracked it. And to me, that song, still, when I hear it, I'm transported to like a place of, like it just soothes me when I hear that. It just takes me to that, I don't know,
I don't know. It wasn't planned. It was spontaneous, most of it. So
it was very, I mean, lyrically, I feel like initially maybe it sounds dark, but it is not that dark of a song.
It's a loving song.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean,
which is funny because you try to explain that to somebody. If you try to explain, I tried to explain it to Chloe in the car. I felt like such an idiot. I'm like, it's this dead body floating in a river, and you're talking to the body about how proud that you are that he gets to move on to the next phase, and how it's all over, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. And I mean, that just sounds, to somebody who's not willing to go there, not that Chloe's not, but just saying, it seems like you're talking to a dead body about what?
Right.
It seems odd.
Well, I think that it's definitely strange lyrically, but I think the goal for me with that song was to emulate the dream that it was based off of, which for me, I feel like I don't really have very many dreams. I don't really sleep very much. I don't enter the REM stage too frequently. But like during our recording process, I did have a dream one night, like as we were finishing up. It was like I was at this, it's kind of like what the lyrics describe, but I was at a river bend. It was like super colorful. And I was just kind of like sitting there, and I saw just a dead body floating pretty slowly.
Face down.
Floating face down, like pretty slowly down the river into, or I guess it was more, down into like the river, kind of like into a bigger body. I guess like stream into a river, like the mouth of the river, whatever, And I feel like I should have been more stressed in my dream, but it was like the best dream I've had in a really long time, because like the feeling I got from it was, okay, yeah, like you're saying, that guy's done. Move on. You're ready to like do something else. Like you've lived. Here you go. Like, congrats, dude. Cheers.
Yes.
Do whatever is next. Don't bother like coming to don't like surface on land and like make more problems for everybody else. Just kind of like fucking
let it go
on. Just leave it. Just go. And I think because there are a lot of things that I think are worse than death, and I think that dream kind of helped me like internalize that, where it's like some people, that isn't the worst thing that happens. And I don't know necessarily what the worst things are, but it definitely helped me internalize that, and I think that I tried to put it into music.
Well, what's funny is, before you told me what the lyrics were about on the day that we recorded it, that was the vibe I got. I said, my first reaction was, it's a foggy morning after a Civil War battle. Like, that's what my initial... Do you remember that?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, I said that my first interpretation of it was that, and this was really before I had known what you wrote about, but it was like...
Yeah, this was Was this pre-tracking it? Or...
No, this was when you were recording the vocals.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I didn't know what you were singing about still. It was not like I had listened yet. Yeah. But it was just the vibe was that this is like a landscape of like the battlefield is settled. There's bodies everywhere. There's fog in the early morning. But it's like... But the people, the nurses and the country, like the residents around the town have come to clean up the bodies and clean up the scene, but something really bad happened the night. So like even in this guy's case, I don't know how the fuck this guy in your dream died. It might have been brutal, and that might have been horrific, but the aftermath is very calm and peaceful. And that is something that, like with death in general, that is something that I've come to grips with, is that death is not okay. Let's define death here, because when someone gets killed, like when a kid gets murdered, or like something really bad happens, it really fucks with me hard.
For sure.
But when my 95-year-old grandma passes away, it's not the same.
Right.
Like, to me, it's like the ultimate moving on. The ultimate, like, my grandma's funeral was at St. Peter and Paul Church, where she was a parish member. She went there like 3 times a week. She was very involved. And then when she passed away, the church was packed. And they were singing the hits of the Catholic songbook. And in my opinion, like, they were like rifling off the hits. And
Fuck yeah.
And there was one moment where I remember like looking up and in church saying like, fuck, because like I couldn't believe how beautiful this was. Like, it was like, you deserve every bit of this. Everybody here, this beautiful music. There was like 5 fucking musicians, which they can't get 2 on a Sunday, but grandma gets 5. There was like 12 priests who showed. I mean, it was like epic for a Catholic old woman. And I remember just being like, I was sobbing because I was overwhelmed by the beauty of this moving on of life. And a lot of times when somebody older like that dies, that's the way I feel. It's like, I don't necessarily feel like a sadness. It's not sadness. It's grief, but it's more so like, I can't believe this. It's so beyond comprehension what's happening, you know, versus when a young person dies, like when Noah with the Strangers, when he overdosed and I got the call, that was very much like oh my God, what the fuck? Like that's fucked up, because that dude had so much going for him and so much life left, and it just feels like really fucked up that he's not gonna be able to do that. Like, I when he died, I was also saying fuck, but it was more so like, oh fuck, like he's not gonna carry on anymore, you know. But my chiropractor said this like a couple months ago. He just said it not like in a deep conversation, but just kind of, he just said something like
that you might die when I snap your neck. You know?
Yeah. He said, "Did you read the disclaimer?
You signed the waiver." Yeah. We're all good.
But he said, I just view death a little differently. Like, he doesn't view it as it's the end of the world. Like, you know, it's the end. And that's kind of what I feel like Cheers was for me when you sang it. It was like, death is not this. We don't need to fear what death is. We don't need to, you know, it's not necessarily the end of, I mean, it's the end of one chapter, but none of us know what's going on really at the end of the day, where things are headed. And if anything, like, we're congratulating this guy in the river that he doesn't have to worry about anything anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, yeah, I think that it reflects on the rest of the album as far as the like the confusion and sometimes comfort in the unknown. Is that like,
or at least everything. the accepting of it.
Yeah, accepting that you have no fucking clue. And I feel like that there's a lot of avenues in my life where I have that now, with type 1, with religion, with everything else. Is just like, I'm very comfortable in not knowing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, it's
I shouldn't say that about type 1, but like
but you are at least accepting of.
I know that shit's gonna change all the time. But like, I've got to that point. It took me this recording session to get to the acceptance that was going to happen, instead of trying to figure it out, because it cannot be figured out.
Well, dude, this goes back to something else we talked to our chiropractor about yesterday, because so we have made several decisions for our son, or for August, that are controversial in our immediate family's lives, versus around how we raise him and around his health. Even something as simple as, like, he doesn't eat sugar. That's a big topic. But also has got brought up a lot about vaccines. And I know that's a real big it's like a trigger word in a lot of circles. I don't actually like talking about it most of the time, but something that gets brought up a lot is like, well, what if this or what if that about certain diseases? But it's like, if you live your life focused on the what if and what about, like, oh, what about that? What about that? Okay, there is a lot of value in preparing for the absolute worst, which we are not ignorant of. Like, we think about it a lot. Honestly, every day that Chloe and Augie leave, I kiss them goodbye because I think about the fact that they could literally pull out on Diamond Avenue and get hit by a semi, and that's all she wrote. You know,
I feel the exact same way.
Yeah,
but the kids.
But living in a state of fear or because, like, think about you guys. So you go through this diagnosis with Quinn, and it is, I can't imagine as a parent what the initial onset was, what the first 6 months to a year was like before you really got a grip on it. It was all a learning curve, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But like, think about then after that, the beauty and the community that comes together.
Oh, for sure.
Like, think Absolutely. About this album, mm-hmm. first of all, but that aside, the holiday world,
yes,
the walk,
absolutely.
The walk at holiday, uh-huh. the family donations.
Yes, exactly.
Like, all of this stuff. Well, I remember it's a tiny example and not really that relevant to what we're talking about, but kind of. I remember deciding I was going to go to music school. And I remember specifically talking to one of my uncles who asked me, what exactly are you going to go do? And he's not the most, what's the opposite of judgmental? What the
Accepting?
opposite? Yeah. He's a very judgmental guy. So yeah. Then he asked me, and I remember, like, as I was telling him, I remember him just staring at me and me thinking, you want to choke me out? Like, you just want to punch me for not getting an engineering degree God. My fucking business degree like I was going to get, I don't know. But, and a couple other people just really, gave me, like, just really questioned me when I was deciding to go to Full Sail versus a business degree at Ball State. And, but what's funny is, then when I made the commitment and I went against, and it became dark for a minute, but right before I moved, 2 family members specifically came to my mom and gave her a sum of money and said, if you need this, or if Wes needs this on the journey down, because my mom had just got, like, my dad had just left, my parents were divorcing, my mom was a single mother, sort of, in terms of funding me and being there for me. And these people one of which I would have never thought in a million years would give my mom money for such things, comes out of the woodwork and then gives my mom this support that, like, says, I don't know really what's going on, but we got you. Mm-hmm. Use this if you need it,
Yep.
And how encouraging and really how beyond comprehension it is when you decide something and then the world starts coming together.
Oh, for sure.
To assist you,
Yes. Yeah, like, and it's such a dramatic mentality switch, too, from being like, okay, I guess we should sell our house, to like, holy shit, thank you for these thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, now my whole world has changed. It's so different. And like we were saying about death, I think it all relates to that too, where, like, I think like through COVID, at least in the state of Illinois, where, like, both grandparents of mine, or 2 of my grandparents died, a couple other people, like, we couldn't go to funerals, but like, these last 2 that I went to, I feel like I basically went to 6 of them with that. But like, through that experience of the funerals, like, it was like, holy shit, I am like you said, it's not that it's like a deep sadness necessarily. It's like okay, I miss the relationship with this person that passed on, but at the same time, all the family that's there, it feels like I just kind of like transferred my energy that I had for this person to a different group of people, and now I'm saying I love yous that I didn't think I would ever say again.
Right.
Where it's like, holy shit, now I have this relationship with my cousin that I forgot about completely.
Mm-hmm.
This person died, but now
all of this other shit is born.
Yeah, right. And it's because of this person, so it's like there's the happiness there. So it's like there is definitely like a positivity if you can get to that point.
Yes, agreed. Like when
situations.
When Noah of the Strangers passed away, so we got the keys to our house on. So this is my weekend back in April of 2021. I got the keys on Thursday, which you guys came over on like Thursday or Friday. I don't know if you remember that. We painted some walls, but like I got the keys to the house on Thursday, and then on Saturday, Noah passed away. On Sunday, August was born, my son.
Oh my God.
So on, I think it was like on Tuesday or Wednesday was the funeral. I went to the funeral, and it was such a fucking crazy weekend, but and we still weren't even living in the house. We were still at the apartment on Virginia Street. Mm-hmm. But I remember going to the funeral and walking up to the funeral and seeing somebody I knew, and he said, "How you doing?" And I said, "Pretty good." Because my son had just been born 2 days ago, and I can't believe how amazing it is. But it was like juxtaposed to this death of a but like a young death of a person close to me in a band that I manage. You know, it was really heavy, but it wasn't the normal grieving process where you lose somebody and then you grieve, and then life gets better or worse for some. But like it was like he died. Oh my God! And then that night, Chloe goes into labor. So it's like, well, okay, I guess we're doing this now. You know, it's like there was no real time to process any of it. And then I'm at his funeral, but I'll never forget. But this guy said, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Pretty good." He's like, "You don't have to lie, dude." And he gave me a hug. I'm like, well, I'm not lying. I mean, I didn't lie to you just now, but like, you're right. Like, I also don't know what to think about this. This is still, I've not faced this quite yet, losing somebody young that was close to me. So that was brand new. But after, when my friend Clem passed away, like an older guy who was a mentor to me in 2019, I knew he was sick. I didn't see him when he was sick. I just didn't feel like I could see him when he was sick. I saw him in the hospital when he was first getting sick. I went to the hospital and visited him, and it was a lot of fun. Me and him and Chloe, we laughed. Like, it was like a great time. But then he went home for 2 weeks, and then he died shortly after that. And I got the call. I was at a music festival in Atlanta, and I got the call that he passed away after a day of seeing like fucking Tame Impala and the most crazy shit on earth. And like, I did some Molly and I smoked some weed at the concert. So I was like blown, mind fucking blown. And I go back to the hotel room and I get a call that Clem passed away. And it was like, holy shit. But it was this feeling of like, that's the Cheers song. It was the feeling of like, man, you moved, like, you did it. Like, you moved on, didn't you? Like, you died, but you didn't go away. Like, you're always gonna be here. You know, same with Noah, dude. He's on the first Strangers record. Right. Every single song that has drums, those are his drums. So it's like, death wasn't the end of anything other than, it sounds horrible, but like other than the person's life here on earth. Right. But they never die, actually. Like,
there's always the memories and the
memories and the work they did and the things they did. But I remember going to Clem's funeral, and it was a celebration of life. He had been cremated, and all of these people, mostly artists and musicians, and then just people in town of New Harmony that he had like become friends with, were all at this tiny church. And then we go up to the cemetery to spread his ashes with all of his relatives. We get up there and we do this ceremony thing, and everybody, so then a mutual friend of everybody's named Christopher Lair starts the bagpipe, plays a song on bagpipe, and I mean fucking instantly everybody just loses it. and we're all invited to spread ashes, to spread Clem's ashes in a certain spot. So we do it, but then he just continues playing this song, and then the song ends, and I remember like looking up at the sky and just thinking like, oh my God, like I can't believe how amazing this is. Like how death can be such a amazing, awesome in the sense of overwhelming experience of the moving on from one. Because dude, Clem was a dreamer. It's like you're going to be better off in ideal land anyway. You probably love it up there. You know, you get to just do whatever. Right. You don't have the restrictions of your body and he had cancer. So it's like, you don't have any of that anymore. You're free to just float away and just, you know, but what I learned at his funeral was like standing up and saying something, because I thought, this is what I thought at that time, being 25 or something, was like, I want people to stand up at my funeral, and I want them to say something about me that they thought or felt or that they remember, or that it was like a good experience. And so ever since his funeral, I've literally spoke at every person's funeral who is semi-close to me, which is probably annoying for some people. Like, so how did you know him?
We did Molly and watched Tame Impala together.
And I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like,
I'm high right now. All right. Thanks, guys.
And I'm listening to Tame Impala on my headphones.
Yeah, I can't hear what you were asking me. I was a little busy.
But, you know, like, since that moment, I've spoke at every funeral, which has given me this, like, it's like, I just feel like I owe it to this person to say a few words about something memorable that will make everybody here happy that this person, you know, did this or did that. I don't know, you know, but it's like everybody can kind of walk away like, yeah. And I can walk away with some sense of closure that, like, you know, that's that, man. Mm-hmm. But it's funny to me, going back to your album, just realize this, but you said it kind of earlier, but it's like the last song on the album being about sort of a farewell.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes total sense now why that's the last song of the record.
Yeah.
It has to be.
I think it needs to be. Yeah. Yeah.
It actually does.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think that, so the second to last song, and there are probably, 4 songs on the album that end pretty maybe aggressively, or I don't know if that's the right word. Or
build aggressively and then end with a release.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I do feel like, and like maybe on like a traditional hardcore album or punk album, that you want the last song to be the big fucking banger.
Hoorah.
But I don't think that's what this album is. The end is the second to last song, and then the farewell is Cheers for sure.
I do think, the second to last song wraps everything up from a musical standpoint.
Yeah.
And then the last one wraps it up emotionally.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good.
It's kind of like at a wedding, or at least at my family's weddings. It's always like an all-out party at the end, and then we sing closing time. This always fucking happens. Closing time comes on, everybody circles up, and you like wrap your arms around each other, and then you just sing closing time. I know, and like it closes the moment like quaintly,
right?
You know, and then everybody just goes their separate ways after that. That's literally kind of what this is. It's like a farewell. Mm-hmm. It's fucking beautiful, actually. It's awesome. Thanks,
awesome, man.
Yeah. So, so what do we got to look forward to? We got November 18th.
Dig a Hole's
coming out, the first single. We might have another single sprinkled in there. We're still discussing that, but we know for sure the album's going to be on December 9th.
Yep,
the full thing.
On all streaming platforms and or Facebook Messenger if you want me to
message you directly. Yeah. Or Gmail.
Gmail will work too. I also have Yahoo.
And Yahoo, yep.
Any of your inboxes would work for me.
That's right.
I'll slide right in.
Yep, that's perfect. Yep. So we got that. We got the Chugs projects kicking off tonight. Kind of, we're loading in and getting set up and
under 2 hours. Yeah.
What is the Chugs?
The Chugs is a surf punk band about Hamm's beer.
Yep.
And
completely about that. But again, it's a metaphor. It's not. You do say ham. I mean, I guess in almost every song, but like it's still it's a metaphor. It's good music. I mean, that's what's fucked up for people who are listening who are like, I mean, it's when I introduce it to people and I say it's a concept album, it always is like it gets a laugh, but then it's like, but then I have to reiterate like it's not bullshit. Like it's actually really good music.
I have a. So like Swamp Eyes, I think there is an effort. I don't know how conscious, subconscious it is to kind of avoid the genre, whatever genre it is. I don't know. I do have like this sort of, I feel like I need to be more inventive. Whereas with like the Chugs, I fucking love surf punk music.
Yeah.
And I want to make that. And it feels good to be able to be like, yes, let's do intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. Let's
it's
do this. It's awesome.
It gives you music. Yeah, and it gives you these parameters to then. You're not writing typical surf punk like theme, you know, like your theme is specific, your genre is specific, but within that you get very creative about your stories and like your situations where you're drinking Hamm's beer or you know where you're honoring the beer. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for people to hear it.
Me too.
I feel like there's a little bit of anticipation building.
There is.
In our circle.
We also own the domain hamsbeer.com. So that's our actual band website. So that's you can go there and buy t-shirts and also wonder how we got hamsbeer.com. It's because Hams didn't buy it. And so I did. Which is crazy.
Which is insane.
It is insane. It's actually the better domain than their current one. So
What's their current one?
Hams.com.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. But this is ultimately I feel like just like an extensive marketing campaign for the beer.
Honestly.
I don't know why they wouldn't like it.
Join you. Like collab eventually. Yep. We'll see how that works out. But all right, we got that. We got that to look forward to. Probably another Swamp Eyes record down the line here. Hopefully some other artists. We just never know. I mean, what's gonna happen with what we're up to? Because we're down for whatever.
We're always down for whatever.
Down for whatever.
That's actually our third album or third movie.
It's
after,
movie.
7.5 minutes.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I think I just heard a knock at the door.
Yeah.
Might be time to wrap it up.
It's time to wrap it up.
But hold on, before we leave, I do want to mention everybody who's still listening, which I would be really surprised if you're still listening to this. And I have a segment that I have to do before we wrap up. But if you're still listening, and if you live in the area, or even if you don't, you want to travel in, on December 18th, we're doing a Wally Opus showcase at Stage 2. At 321. It's a venue on the east side of Evansville. Swamp Eyes is playing. Somebody is definitely knocking. Is it Ethan?
Yeah.
Tell him to hold on 2 seconds. We're almost done. No, dude, just tell him to come around back. It's open. Say come around the back. It's open. But tell him not to mess with the chickens. Don't tell him that. It's fine. Okay, so if you're in the Evansville area, look out for December the 18th, Wally Opus Showcase. Sam's going to be playing there, Swamp Eyes. We're going to have 3 other bands. More details to come. But let's wrap this up with a quick segment, okay?
Yep.
This is called Don't Think, Just Act. So I'm going to rifle off 10 terms, names, ideas, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Just instinct. Hams.
Lifestyle.
Favorite instrument you played on this record?
Guitar. Fingerstyle.
Aaron Tanner.
Butthole Surfers.
First album that you can remember falling in love with?
Whatever the one by Creed is. What's not Human Clay, the other one?
Love it. Don't know that
Weathered
album.
by Creed.
Weathered by Creed. What's the song
First
off
grade,
there?
I think. No, 5th grade. It was the first CD I ever bought. Huh?
What's the song off that?
Higher
one?
by Creed is my go-to karaoke song. So.
Higher. Favorite song from the last week?
He Needed Me by the A's.
Was that on your Instagram earlier?
Uh-huh.
Family.
Music. Yeah, it's cheesy, but that was the first thing. You did say the first thing.
Yeah.
So it's honestly your fault from that.
Dream job. And I don't mean just like day job. I mean like if playing Bonnaroo was a job, you know what I mean? What's your dream job?
Street interviewer.
On TikTok or on like the Late Show?
I'd like to get paid for it since it's a job, but I would like to also have no limits and ask anyone. So I feel like it leans TikTok, but it's also not
paid.
Yeah, so I want a paid version of that. I just want to be able to say what I want to strangers and make them feel like they need to answer me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Who's your idol if you had one?
Danny Elfman.
Have you ever met him?
No, but I have. He is in the last Melodic Virtue book about the residents.
So you copywrote or you edited a quote?
Yeah.
From him?
Yep. Yeah. So
That's
that
basically
counts.
meeting him.
We're like best friends now. I feel like sorry, go on.
No. What were you gonna say?
I have such a respect for him because he's operated successfully in so many different genres, and he's in his late 60s and still is going as hard as ever. And I would love to do that.
Awesome. Swamp Eyes 5 years from now.
Taylor Swift.
So you want to have 6 songs in the biggest playlist on Spotify on the day of release. Sounds good.
Yeah. I just feel like that's going to be an easy goal.
Yep, that's not bad. 5 years. Okay, last question. If you could sit down and have a beer with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, fuck. A beer. Whoa. Okay, let's see. Damn.
A nice beer and a nice conversation.
Danny DeVito. 100% Danny DeVito.
Why?
He is
in the latest Jersey Mike's commercial.
Yes. And that's really all I had to say about that, honestly. But he is one of the funniest people I know. He reminds me of my dad, and I feel like he operates within the sphere of like, oh my God, he's a crazy person, like Gary Busey is, but he also still lives in the real world and is filmed like all the time for like It's Always Sunny, and still operates at a very professional creative level. So I feel like I can access an inebriated version of someone who's at the top of their game, very successful, who's very funny and very professional, who I could learn from.
God, that sounds like a fun beer.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
well,
great.
good. So that's that. We'll wrap this sucker up. We got our 3:15 meeting just arrived, so we'll catch that now. But yep, like we said, look out for the new single coming out Friday, November 18th on everywhere you listen to music. The album's on December 9th. The show's on the 18th. And that's that. Anything else?
Nope.
Catch you on Instagram. Catch you on the
Flip side.
Yep.
That's the other social platform I'm on.
Yep. Which is kind of an underground platform at the moment, but
yeah,
it's coming up.
It's really nothing I even want to talk about.
Yep. We'll just won't even mention it then.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this,
Thanks
Sam.
for having me. Love
Yep.
you.
All right. I love you. We'll do this again in a
week.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Have a great week. This was Mining in the Foothills, and we'll see you next time.